Satoru flipping Gojo. He is an enigma. You know, he's a staple of power in his verse. He is the peak. You know what they said? Would you lose? Nah, I'd win. You feel me? An important part of Gojo's character is him being the strongest. You know, hence Geto said, "Are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest, or are you the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo?" The burden, what Kendrick said, the crown is heavy. The burden of being the top, the pinnacle, the peak, whether you are evil, you do it in a malicious way like Sukuna, or you do it in a benevolent way like Gojo, it's still a heavy burden to bear because you leave yourself alone. You're not vulnerable physically. You're not vulnerable mentally, even sometimes. You're vulnerable psychologically. You're vulnerable in the fact that you don't have anyone you can share this power with. While the weak, whether out of necessity or by choice, cling to other people. Look at Geto and his group. You could argue like he was manipulating them. You know, he's pulling people together just because they were useful to him. We saw that with Mahito. But even in that, he's supposed to be the weakest of the two. He has connection. Gojo is the strongest of the two, stronger of the two. He has less connection. His connection is with people that he's supposed to be guiding. Like he has to shelter them in a way. While when the people Geto recruited and saved, he don't got saved them. He can use them to his own advantage. That's the koi fish effect. You know? It's like there's good and evil on both sides. And Gojo didn't just become the strongest that moment when he fought Toji. That moment when that mission failed because he let his guard down. He became alone. He became responsible for everything. And that infinity that you think protects him from everything and distances him from everything, that same infinity that's a barrier is a cage. It traps him with nowhere to go. You see it if you remember the episode where Yaga sitting down on the side, he's walking and some ants go under him and he has infinity on and like allows the ant like him to not step on the ants. That is like a metaphor to how he interacts with the world. He wears the blindfold because the six eyes are so like potent in a way that like he sees everything. So he wears the blindfold. Not to blind himself, but so he doesn't have sensory overload. Right? He from the moment he was born, though he wasn't like the strongest by like conventional terms, it's probably top tiers in the verse that they're fighting baby him, they could have one tapped him. But like ever since he was born, he had that burden of having the six eyes, of having limitless, that limitless distance between him and the people he wants to protect. Because no matter how much he uses his strength to protect them, that strength can't float beyond himself. And when they're alone, they're vulnerable. There's nothing he can do about it. You know, after almost dying, and this is important part of the character too. It's almost like Nirvana. In reaching death, he comes to a conclusion about life and why he needs to live. Before he can have fun with Geto, and partying with the girl, He hit his man's Geto. Hey, bro, if you don't want to turn her in, we don't got to turn her in, bro. Happy, jovial, but in that near-death experience, he realizes what he needs to stand for, and he realizes like not things that he chooses to do, but there are things that only he can do. And that's where he became the strongest. That is where he was separated from everyone else. That's where the ship cast it off. And it changed from we're the strongest when he's talking about him and Geto as a sorcerer duo to I alone am the honored one. I alone am the honored one. Geto ain't won yet. But I alone am the honored one. This isn't ego. This is a realization that no one can touch the peak that he has now reached. The abilities that he had that were essentially busted. Max class, max level abilities. Only weakness is the cooldown. This ability allows him to essentially take away the cooldown. Oh yeah, this can't touch me. That's he had the realization like, you can't touch me, bro. And once you reach the top, that podium is a second place and a third place. They never can walk the same path you do because they're levels below you. And there's nothing he can do about that. And that truly became a staple of his reality, something that he couldn't, despite being the strongest, something he couldn't change when he couldn't stop Geto from having this type of depression. Despite all of his strength, he doesn't have the power to save his best friend. The same best friend who, when he suggested, yo, Geto, should we slime all these? Geto's the one who told him, no, don't want to do anything. Yet Geto's ideology becomes, all people who can't use jutsu need to die. Geto's ideology becomes, let me slime everybody up. Gojo had one moment of everybody needs to be slimed up. And Geto was the one who put him out of that darkness. But when Geto suffers that same darkness, despite all the power he has, Gojo can't pull him out of that rut. This is his personal failure. This is a burden that he has to hold himself. I can defeat everybody in the world, but I can't protect what actually matters to me. Despite all of this power that isolates me, the burden and responsibility that comes behind this power, I can't even use it to protect the people I'm supposed to protect. That's my responsibility, and I can't even fulfill that. And with this power, I'm isolated from everyone else. So there's no personal fulfillment for me because everything is boring. And the responsibility that I've come to enjoy, I can't even fulfill. Think about what that does to the mind, bro. He has his best friend ask him, are you the strongest because you're a Gojo? Or are you Gojo because you're the strongest? He hits him with an idea. Geto, the nigga he's trying to save, questions who Gojo is. His ride or die. Hits him with the, I don't even know you, nigga. Who is you? And that's what corrupts Gojo's sense of self. That prison, that cage of infinity, was the only thing keeping him, the pieces held together. And when he had to acknowledge this change that he made, he broke. He shattered. Am I a person? Am I the strongest because I'm a person? Or am I me because I'm the strongest? Am I a person just because of my power? Is that all I exist for? And that's when his identity became tied to strength and he lost parts of his humanity. He took in Megami. He raised a child, right? So he still gives his humanity time. But like, he doesn't talk to his friends. He doesn't chill. He's always working. He's a cog in the machine. And it's crazy because people don't see that as much as Yuji did. Because Yuji, almost in a way to honor Gojo, made that his ideology. I'm a cog in the machine. I just do my job. And Gojo invests in the next generation. Because when he's gone, they'll have no one. And that's kind of, when you think about it, the only solace he can take. I'm eventually going to be gone one day. It's going to suck for the world, but for me, that's relief. Not like he's, you know what I'm saying, he's not Dazai from Bungo Stray Dogs. But you know what I'm saying? That is like the only, like, he's like, you ever work a job and you're looking at the clock because you want to get off? That's like his relief. I like working, especially if your job's helping people. Like, say you're a doctor. I love helping people. I don't have a problem with it. But when you're overly exerting yourself all the time, man, I just want to go home. I still want to do it the next day, but I want to go home. There is no home for him besides that, like, death. Gojo's goal no longer becomes strength and power. He reconciles the question and realizes that he is Gojo because he's the strongest, but he's also the strongest because he's Gojo. He realizes those two things go hand in hand, and his goal stops becoming strength and power and like protecting everyone by himself, and it becomes teaching other people to be able to carry power so no one else has to be him. No one else has to carry it alone. When he first comes back from training, he says, has the world not had enough of Satoru Gojo? Yuji repeats that same John. Because he has to exist. The strongest has to exist. The peak has to exist for the world to function. That is the problem he was forced to bear. He was forced, think about the Shibuya incident. He had to limit his power to protect the civilians. If he didn't have to do that, he could have slimed all of this immediately. Just like that. But he's thinking about other people. That hint of humanity in his character is all he has left. You get what I'm saying? That is like That again is the equivalency of the question. Are you Gojo because you're the strongest, or are you the strongest because you're Gojo? Both are true. I'm the strongest because I'm the man that I am, and me being Gojo is also why I'm inherently strong. But the man who I am is how I wield my power. His power becomes a scalpel, something used when necessary, and something that's not blunt force meant to destroy the world. You know, and it's like when Gojo is taking out the equation in Shibuya, that's it. The world is cooked. He became so important that like he's the biggest target because once you get him out of the way, shit, you know that's his responsibility. And one man shouldn't be responsible for everyone, but that's his responsibility. His isolation comes from having no equal, no peer, no one who can truly understand who he is. He's a prodigy. Besides just being the strongest, he's a prodigy. He understands things like these. He comes up with things like these, but he can't share that with anyone else. Other prodigies can't reach his peer because he's the strongest. That is the reality of Gojo. That is the like loneliness that comes from it. He has no one to relate to. His best man's left. And being the strongest, he's not Sukuna's mindset, doesn't equal maximum control because people can still die. Things can still slip between his fingers. He's forced to be a protector. He's forced to be a shield that bears the weight of everything, of everyone. Because if he crumbles, the thing standing behind him is so fragile when compared to him that it has no way of standing this pressure. He could not just be the strongest. He has to carry the title of being the strongest. His power didn't free him. It gave him more to lose because he had more to protect. That responsibility that crept up with it. That's not his dream. That's not who Gojo is. That's what the strongest is. That's not what Gojo is. And that's what that question Kenjaku asked him, or Geto asked him, was so important. It's like he had to realize that in a way it broke him, but it also made him the man he is today. He had to realize that being the strongest is not who he is. It's the title he carries. Two things can be true. You feel me? But who you are is Gojo. You happen to be the strong, but you're Gojo. If you're the weakest, you should still be Gojo. That is the person willing to protect people. That is the person who wants to make sure, goes out his way to disperse the power that he's teaching. So one person doesn't have to carry the burden of being the strongest alone ever again. You get what I'm saying? That's the price of being the strongest. That's the price of power. Like, you know what I'm saying? As Gojo rose to the top, the less human he was allowed to be, he had to be a god amongst men. While still clinging on to his humanity, because if he loses that one thing, he's just the strongest. He can't protect. You know what I'm saying? Power gave him everything, and that meant that everything he had could be taken in a moment where weakness is shown. And that's what Toji showed him. And that is why, I mean, the price of power is heavy. The crown is heavy. Whether it's isolation, whether it's if you're a strong martial artist, you love your craft, you can't develop your craft anymore because no one can challenge you, push you to develop it. Take Baki, the new season. Everybody yawning this. Y'all not boxing on Yujiro, but y'all yawning and y'all tired because they think they have no comp. That is the price of power. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Little rant. As always, set the Discord link down below. As always, I'll catch you boys in the next. Peace.